15 years, blowing the doors off the competition. Podcasting to planet Earth.
PNRNetworks.com.
This podcast is a member of the Blueberry Network. Blueberry. No E's. That's Blueberry, BLUBRRY.com. Blueberry.com.
This podcast is a proud member of the Lamb Podcasting Network. Find the network at largeassmovieblogs.com.
This is a Class 1 emergency. All civilian traffic is barred from streets and highways. Stay in your homes. Stay in your homes. Stay in your homes. Repeat, this is a Class 1 emergency. All civilian traffic is barred from streets and highways.
Do not panic. Do not panic. We've got the quirky films for your quarantine blues. Subject Cinema presents Captive Audience Theater with T.C. Kirkham and Kim Brown.
It's time for some kung fu action on Subject Cinema presents Captive Audience Theater. I'm T.C. Kirkham.
Hi, I'm Kim Brown.
Not really kung fu, it's karate.
Yeah.
Specifically.
Yeah.
Bad karate.
Oof.
At that.
Bad karate.
Well, it's an entertaining little film.
Bad karate, bad plot, not
bad
great.
acting.
Bad acting.
A lot of interesting bads about this film. We've talked about it before on Masochistic March, but we wanted to bring it to you again. 1980s, The Little Dragons, also known as Karate Kids USA. Mm-hmm. It is, thankfully, it was not the final film for the great Ann Sothern. She would later do a couple other films.
Yeah.
Because she played a role here that was like, oh my God, that's Ann Sothern.
Mm-hmm.
Charles Lane and brothers Chris and Pat Peterson heading up the cast. Directed by Curtis Hanson. Does that name ring a bell to you? Curtis Hanson would go on to become an actual filmmaker. No, he'd actually done films in the 70s and 80s.
Oh
but
my
in the
gosh,
90s and
neat.
forward, he directed Wonder Boys, The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, and 8 Mile, among other things. He is the director of this cinematic train wreck.
The same guy that directed 8 Mile directed this.
Yeah.
Okay.
30 years apart.
Well, everybody...
He's not with us anymore, so we're sorry, Mr. Hanson.
Yeah.
But,
everybody's got to start somewhere.
And I have to admit, I liked this film. I don't have a problem with this film. I recognize it as a bad film, but it's still a fun film. I mean, it is. The basic plot line is a couple of brothers, Zach and Woody, are karate students who are about to go off on a weekend camping trip in their grandfather's RV.
Yep.
Grandfather JJ. Along the way, they make friends with another girl whose name is Carol, and her parents, who are fighting and on the verge of a divorce because of his job.
And because he's kind of an a-hole.
After meeting them in the road,
Mm-hmm.
the brothers and their grandfather go off to the campgrounds, and they run into this backwoods family to help them get out of a ditch, and they decide, well, these guys are worth money. Let's kidnap the girl and get a ransom for her.
Yeah.
And thus, she had started to have a little bit of a sweet thing with the older of the two brothers, and things ensue from there.
Yeah, the older of the two karate brothers, not the rednecks that kidnapped them.
Oh, God, no.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, this film hurts. There's just so much, and there's so much hurt to go around. That's the thing about it. With some films you can sit there and go, oh my gosh, this film is terrible. But at least that person tried, or, the special effects were so-so, or whatever. Or at least there was one good song or something like that. I mean, I do try to find something positive about every film. At least something.
You do not.
I do too.
You're trying to find something positive in a Coleman Francis film?
It wasn't 2 hours. There.
Okay. To be fair, this movie sat on the shelf for a little while. It's believed that it was actually shot between late 1977 and early 1978 because at the time it was shot, Pat Peterson, who played the younger brother, Woody, had not yet begun the role that he's best known for, Michael Fairgate, on the television series Knots Landing, a role which he played for 11 seasons plus 2 reunion TV movies. So he's markedly younger here, a couple of years younger than he ever looked on that show, and that show premiered before the movie came out.
Yep.
So it obviously sat on the shelf for a while.
And then when it was released to home video, I think, in 1984, because they were trying to capitalize on another better film, they called it Karate Kids USA.
And they also went through and edited it a bit because the brothers were too old to replace their dialogue. They simply bleeped out the curse words that were used because Woody's favorite phrase was "no blank Sherlock," saying it every 2-3 times a minute.
Well, because he's a preteen boy, and once they learn how to swear, that's going to be every other word that comes out of their filthy little mouths.
It really isn't a terrible, terrible film. I mean, I would grant it would be somewhere maybe a 5 out of 10.
If you're going on a pain scale, yeah.
No,
I will.
As an entertainment scale, because it's fun to watch. I get a kick out of veteran actor Charles Lane in this film, who has obviously enjoying himself interacting with these kids and having fun. Sally Boyden.
Well, it's actually nice seeing him play the kindly but pragmatic,
ruthless businessman and stuff.
Yeah, his character JJ he's a grandfather, so he's a and he's a nice grandfather. He's not like your typical mean grandfather or something in films. He's actually nice, but he's not blind to the fact that occasionally, not so much the elder brother Zach. He's actually more serious and more.
Zach is the brains of the operation.
And more serious about his karate. Woody's a bit of an idiot. I mean, I'm sorry. I realize
he's a 10-year-old kid. What do you expect? I mean, that's just basically
it's a 10-year-old boy.
Most boys are idiots at 10. Let's face it. I've been there.
Yeah, that's true.
Sally Boyden, who played Carol Forbinger, the little girl in The Other Family that Zach is attracted to, had actually launched her career in her native Australia. She came up here in promotion for a couple of movies, landed a role on The Waltons, a recurring role, and then moved that into films. She jumped into films with this movie and a couple other ones. Later in life, she became a songwriter-musician. She's still doing music in England, where she now lives, and she did another well-received cult film in 1981 called Dead Man's Float. Despite that's how you can tell these movies are quite a few years apart. In that film, she's no longer the little girl she was in Little Dragons. She's a fully grown, full-formed teen in a bikini, doing a lot of interesting things and attracting a lot of teenage males. And also with her native Australian accent, which you do not hear in this film. That movie has some high regard on there. I remember seeing that when I was a kid and thinking, wow, this is made the same year and she's that much older? What the hell?
It's interesting, one of the other actors I'd like to bring up, Joe Spinell, who played...
classic character actor.
Who played Yancey, one of the... refugee from Deliverance Brothers, who are the antagonists of this film.
He's the skinny one, right?
He's the skinnier,
the skinny, wilier one, not the kind of Slim Pickensy one.
Yeah,
right.
He's actually a definite well-known character actor and known to fans of cult films. He was the titular character in the one of the first real video nasty splatter films, Maniac. Along with a lot of other, which Elijah Wood did a remake of a few years back. And he was one of these people that you see in like everything. He's one of those, hey, it's that guy type of people. He's not with us any longer. His last film was Rapid Fire, but he was in, I believe he was in Godfather, and He was in The Godfather and Godfather Part 2 playing the same character. He was in Taxi Driver. He was in Rocky 1 and Rocky 2. But like you mentioned, Ann Sothern was also in this, and that's just... Ann Sothern is another one of those, if you see her in a movie like this and you're reminded of all of these other screen queens, I meant to say. These actresses that did these, great parts, and you remember from, Hollywood's heyday and things like that. And you're like, what the hell were they doing in this? Mm-hmm. Following in the footsteps of people like Joan Crawford, Veronica Lake, Gloria Swanson. I could go on and on and on.
Did Gloria Swanson do crappy films? Other than Airport 75, which doesn't really count because that was a big budget film.
Yes, but it was still crap.
It was crap. It was still a big budget film. It's not like a low budget, like Trog was.
No, but it was one of those films where you're like, what the hell is she doing in this?
Yeah, and she played herself in that, which was terrible.
Yeah. But Ann Sothern as white trash matriarch Angel in this just made me want to cry.
I mean you could tell she was clearly having fun with the role, but playing this like down home Southern talking
white trash matriarch, Yeah. It's her idea that they isn't it her idea that they kidnapped the little girl?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Rick Lenz is also in this. Rick is one of those, hey, it's that guy actors that's still around now. He's probably best known for the year or so long running The New Adventures of Beans Baxter on Fox, where he played Beans' kidnapped agent father. Yeah. He was appearing on that from time to time.
He plays Dick Forbinger in this film. Mm-hmm. He's the dad
of is that name
appropriate. Oh, that name is accurate. That's only because you can't... that's only because A-hole is not a first name in most Western countries or anywhere else, to be perfectly honest with you.
This also has Tony Bill is also in this. Tony is another character actor turned director and producer. He plays, I believe, Niles is one of the deputy sheriffs in this. He would go on a couple years later to really make a mark as a director with the Chris Makepeace, Adam Baldwin film My Bodyguard.
Yeah.
And would continue to do other stuff as time went on in the next decade or so.
Let me put it to you guys this way. When you have a film where the two main characters are young people and they're learning martial arts, they're learning karate, and the youngest one, his whole karate motif is to attack any available tree. Mm-hmm. And 9 times out of 10, the tree kicks his ass.
Yeah. Branches, pine cones, whatever.
You have a problem.
Yeah. We should mention Chris Peterson, the older brother who plays Zach. Chris was actually winding down his career at this time as Pats was starting to take off on television. Mm-hmm. He had starred in the critically acclaimed film adaptation, although little seen, of the book Where the Red Fern Grows in 1976. Got really good reviews for that. He got out of acting as time went on, making a few appearances in a few episodic television series in the early 80s. Mm-hmm.
Including MASH and Incredible
completely out of the business like Pat is. Yeah. Pat is now a health food store mogul.
Yeah. I would also like to bring up now, one thing that happens in a lot of these films, especially children's films, you have all these things where it's a kid's film, so they have children in peril in these films. Kids getting kidnapped, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Now, usually...
That's usually the standard plot of these kind of movies.
Right.
That goes back to the films from the 30s and 40s from Germany and England and from Disney. And
you have a kid in danger, and the other kids are the ones that save them, because as... The other, to rip off a line from TV Tropes, which is a fun site. If you go to it, it will suck you in. All adults are useless.
Yeah.
Although in this film, that's not entirely true, because JJ's actually pretty on the bean for an older guy. But in a lot of these films have one thing in common, and that's the faithful pet. They have, somebody has a dog or a cat, or if you want to get really exotic, a parrot, or something, that when the bad guys show up, when stuff goes down, you have the brave dog, or the smart cat that runs off and alerts people and lets people know something's wrong, and, they're the faithful companion, or they defend the kids against the bad guys. In this film, we get Rufus. Rufus
was kind of useless.
Oh, Rufus redefines the term useless.
No. Flash is useless. Flash from Dukes of Hazzard. That was a useless dog.
Rufus is Carol's dog, played by a dog named Jiggs. And he's a cute... That's the one nice thing I can say about this movie. At least the dog is cute.
Yeah.
He's as useful as a one-legged man in an ass-kicking contest, but he's a cute dog. But seriously, this dog isn't protecting anybody from anything.
No.
I don't know what they did to this dog, that they actually found a dog who apparently surgically had all his bones removed, because I'm joking. He was doing a great impression of Frida's cat, Farron. Carol carries this effing dog everywhere. I'm like, so the dog is paralyzed? The dog is... What is wrong with your dog, miss? And
also in a movie that was made in 1978, you never thought you would hear the term hootenanny.
Oh, I know.
They're off to a hootenanny at the end of the first night at the camping. That's where Zach and Carol...
I'm sorry, I had to look at him. I'm like...
to each other.
I'm like, hootenanny? Yeah.
Really? And
guess
they're singing the Hokey Pokey. Oh, God.
Two people watching this movie, guess who grew up in the North? Hootenanny blank stare. I'm like, what the hell are they talking about? What language is that? He's sitting there like, do I tell her? I don't know. It's
just to
good grief,
justify
this film.
It is a fun watch. It's painful because the
it's fun to misty. Why this has not been mistied, I have no clue.
Curtis Hanson and Tony Bill was also a producer on this, by the way. So this was right before My Bodyguard. So he redeemed himself fairly quickly. Curtis Hanson would go on to become a major director in the 1990s, directing, as I said, The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, L.A. Confidential, The Wonder Boys, 8 Mile, In Her Shoes, and the TV docudrama No Big to Fail were his best known things. And it's just, I saw that and I'm like, oh my God, I've seen this, I watched this film 30 or 40 times when it was on cable when I was a kid, when I was 18 when it was out. And I mean, because I just found it fun, it was fun. And I had no idea Curtis Hanson had directed this until today when we started looking it up. I'm like, oh my God, are you serious?
Yeah.
But it's a fun. It could be worse. It could be The Creeping Terror. But it's not. Or Bruce Lee Fights Back from the Grave. Or Two Swords, Two Sorcerers. Now look.
Listen, there's we have to do that.
Yeah,
we have to do that.
We probably should, especially since we watched it recently.
We're not doing the other one.
The other one?
The one you just said.
Bruce Lee Fights Back from the Grave? She has a physical twitch when I say that.
I hate that movie!
I hate that movie too, but...
Yes, but you
really shouldn't bother you that much, because other than the first 20 seconds... The movie's fine. It has nothing to do with Bruce Lee.
I'm sorry. I literally choke on outrage at that movie. It makes me so mad. Anyway, getting back to this movie, we need to categorize this. It needs to go in our catalog here at Captive Audience
Before you do
Theater.
that, if you would like to check this out, and it's an easy, amiable, mistyable 90 minutes long or so, 87, 85 minutes. It's available practically everywhere. If you're on Roku or any of the television smart TVs where you have a number of different movie apps, just type into the major general search thing, Karate Kids USA, that's usually the name it's found under. I mean, we counted 12 different services that have it running right now.
Yeah.
All of these little independent film things.
Yep.
And so I like I said, I always enjoyed it when I was a kid. I was an older kid. I was 18, 19 when I was watching it. But it's like...
In a dumb, fun
It falls into that whole thing at the same time. As I said, Dead Man's Float came out. BMX Bandits was out at the same time.
Manny's Orphans.
They're goofy little fun movies to pass the time with people who went on to be bigger stars. So, okay, so categorizing this film for captive audience theater, the category is going to be jumping on the bandwagon. And that's simply for the title. The reason that it's being put in there is because these idiots jumped on the bandwagon twice. When they first released this movie, they were calling it The Little Dragons, which is obviously to capitalize on the dragon, the star of Enter the Dragon, the late, great, long-lamented Bruce Lee. Ever since Bruce Lee became, exploded on the martial arts scene, you had this movie, that movie, the other movie with the term dragon in it. So then... The second time it came out, or actually the second time they renamed it, was, or actually, because the first time they had just dropped it to just Dragons. Mm-hmm. The second time they renamed it was in 1984 when it hit VHS for the first time.
Yeah.
And it was out at the same time as Ralph Macchio's monster hit, The Karate Kid.
A much better movie.
And used the tagline, before there was The Karate Kid, there was The Karate Kids.
Yeah.
Hence the title, Karate Kids USA. The official title is still The Little Dragons.
Yeah.
So you can find it.
So that's where we're categorizing this. I guess we should just count our lucky stars that even though this movie exists, they're making it sound like before The Karate Kid there was this. So then I guess we're lucky we got The Karate Kid at all.
Yeah, because this was not a very good, this is one of those little films that doesn't come in maybe a matinee. With them, when they had them, they were still having them at the time.
Doing that, though, is so skeezy, because some poor mom at a video store was like, oh, Karate Kid, my kid's been wanting to see this, and they brought it home, and they're like, hey, that's not, I can't stand when people do that.
I mean, I don't know anybody that really hated it until you get older and realize how silly it is and stupid, but and what a waste
just
of
bad
Southern's massive talent it is. But it's not terrible. It could be worse. But it's definitely a captive audience type movie.
Oh, yeah. Because let's not forget, what's our motto here at Captive Audience Theater?
Except for Orgy of the Dead.
Except for Orgy of the Dead.
If we have to suffer,
you have to suffer.
We'll have more of these as we continue on our little series, as we continue through this Triple C, our COVID crisis here.
Yeah.
COVID quarantine crisis. So it's actually CQC.
CQC, yeah.
And we'll continue to offer these 2 or 3 times a week. We hope you come over and listen and spread the word. Post them on Facebook, tweet about them. And don't forget to check us out everywhere else on our other shows, like Platinum Rose's Garden, which is run almost through the entire Supernatural season, except what they haven't finished filming yet.
Yep.
And what they haven't shown yet. This year. She's also got Ring Around the Rosie, her hilarious wrestling show, and Platinum Rose Roleplay, her marvelous, completely original, all self-written roleplay episodes.
Those are on YouTube.
Stuff. That's on YouTube. You can catch Catastrophe Vortex, my disaster movie show, coming back on the 40th anniversary of the eruption of Mount St. Helens on May 18th with a first-person account from yours truly.
Yep. And if you'd like to follow us on Twitter, you can follow me at PlatinumRoseLla@Twitter.com.
I'm at eCinema1.com and occasionally on TKR Online if I'm doing the music stuff. Don't forget to check us out there. And, by the way, everybody's having problems right now. I know that unemployment's soaring and everything's happening.
Yeah.
But we're still hoping that you'll take the time to help us out and help us bring this to you by becoming a member of our Patron Circle. It is $5 a month. You just go over to patreon.com. /PNRNetworks and pledge the $5 a month. For that will help our expenses and help us to develop new stuff for post-COVID stuff, hopefully.
And we would like to say from TC and me that we know that things are scary right now. It's a really kind of scary time, and we hope that us doing this little silly show brings you a laugh or brings you to someplace where you can have a laugh. We're thinking about you. We're trying to send out as much positive energy as we can, and you should try and do that too. Just send out a little positive energy into the universe. It can't hurt.
And call your grandma.
I am not going to be the one that answers the door when John Moxley shows up all pissed off you ripped off his gift.
For Subject Cinema presents Captive Audience Theater on TC Kirkham.
I'm Kim Brown.
May your popcorn always be butter.
And may your roses always be in bloom.
Ciao.
Bye.
You've been listening to Subject Cinema Presents Captive Audience Theater with Kim Brown and T.C. Kirkham. Produced by PNR Networks, Boston, Massachusetts.
"15 years, blowing the doors off the competition, podcasting to planet Earth.
PNRNetworks.com